of yesteryear. And it marks the Hilula here in the month of Kislev of a really great rabbi, Rabbi Yitzchak Lampronti Z'tl. Now, according to most opinions, he passed away on Yud Bet Kislev, which would have been, I believe, the 5th of December in the English year 1756. Another opinion said it was on Aleph Kislev. So I will double check that. But according to most sources, it said Yud Bet Kislev. Now, he was a great rabbi. He was a doctor, a rophe, and one of the great rabbis of Padova and Peraira, respectively. Now, he was an author of a halachic Torah law encyclopedia, a great Torah colossal book of the name the Pachad Yitzchak. Now let's explore some of the highlights of the great rabbi's life. So I believe that now there's two differing sources. One source says he passed away on the 5th of December in 1756. Another one says he passed away, I also see somewhere else, 16th of November 1756. So that's differing opinions. He would have been about the age of 77 years of age at the time of passing. I believe he was born in English year 1679, respectively. And he himself, Rabbi Yitzchak, actually was born in Peraira. This was in Italy. I believe that had great Jewish community in of itself. I think it's based in the north of Italy, and very, very interesting enough, and came from a very great family in of itself that actually arrived to Italy from Turkey, I believe, towards the start of the 17th century, or in the 1600s, respectively. Unfortunately, when he was 6 years of age, I believe his father, he suffered loss. I mean, he became a orphan, and he actually went to learn Torah under the auspices of the great rabbis of the city. And I think when he reached 14 years of age, he learned Torah and learned the laws of the Torah and the poskim, and for many, many years, especially under the auspices of Rabbi Manoach Probnatzial. I hope I pronounce his name correctly. Rav Probnatzial, I think in the area of Logo, I believe, in Ravana, if I'm not mistaken. This was another great area where I think they had the Torah Academy in of itself, in the Amalo Romania neighborhood in the northern part of Italy. And then I think he's traveled to Padua over there, and he learned studies related to medicine, I think in the University of Padua, which I believe there were other rabbis, academic rabbis, that would actually learn there. And over there, I believe at that point in time, we were learning the yeshiva of the city, I think, which was under the headship of Rabbi Yitzchak Kohen Machazanim, who happened to be a very great rabbi. And I think after he did his studies, he would actually travel to Mantua over there and learn under the chief rabbi, I believe, at the time of Italy, Rabbi Yehuda Bril, another great rabbi. We actually did a video, I think, covering on within regards to that before. Now, come what the English is around 1710, he would have been about 31 years of age at that point in time. I believe he received a rabbinic ordination, smicha. And then in the year 1743, shortly after, he would become the Rosh Yeshiva, the head of the Yeshiva, Torah Academy in Peraira. And I think he would become like the head rabbi over there, respectively. And during that point in time, he really, really did concentrate on a lot of, let's say, the chinuch, the education in of itself, and really did inspire, let's say, the throngs of people in itself. I believe he opened up a Beit Midrash for adults over there, not just for children. He cared about like the older people, their studies also, where they learn Torah. I think these were people that will work throughout the day. Also, he would actually take care and make sure that they're learning at a premium level also throughout the other days throughout the other hours in of itself, respectively. And at that point in time, I think in these parts of Italy, there was a great Torah community. And we've mentioned about that on various occasions before. We actually seeing, it's actually interesting. He did not just a lot of work. He opening this Beit Midrash and was studying. He was also lecturing various different hours and had a huge variety of audiences in of itself. And at the same time, he was working as a doctor and was taking care of the medical needs, not just of Jewish people, I think of all the dominations and religions over there in that specific area, vicinity of itself. And he actually had a great wealth of knowledge, medical, with regards to halachic, with regards to scientific, and he would bring all of these different sources into his colossal work called the Pachad Yitzchak. And he had a huge library, Torah library, and himself very diverse, where he would mention and bring about the necessary books, let's just say, and the quotations within regards for his book in itself. Now, he passed away in Kislev, and I believe his son Rav Shlomo would actually go on and succeed him. And within regards to, I think, the Torah activities he was doing in of itself. And it's actually interesting. There was a lot going on, I believe, at that point in time inside the vicinity. It was a very turbulent time, I believe, in all over Italy at that point in time, when he was just before he had passed away. Specifically, I believe at that point in time there was. There was an inquisition in Peraira, if I'm not mistaken. This was about half a year before he had passed away. I believe in the year afterwards, a lot of memoriams actually took place in the great rabbi's memory. I think in the year 1872, I think the city in of itself put a luach zikaron, a memorial plaque, let's just say, or commemoration in honor of the great rabbi in of itself. I think there's a street or an area in Jerusalem named after him, Lampronti Z'tl. I think it's in Yafo. Also, there's a Rehov Pachad Yitzchak named after his great book. Now, let's explore the great Torah colossal work he did, because it was a really famous book in of itself, a genius book, you could say, in of itself. So I think this life work was, let's say, a rabbinic encyclopedia called Pachad Yitzchak. I think it was actually derived from the name, from the book of Bereshit, if I'm not mistaken. And it actually was a Torah work which he collected very early on. He started during his days while he was a Talmid, a student in Mantuba, and then worked throughout this book throughout his entire life. And I think it was towards the latter years of his life where he decided to publish this great Torah colossal work. He would actually travel, I think, with his student, Rabbi Yaakov Raphael Saraval, who happened to be another great rabbi, Italian rabbi. So he was born in Venice, respectively, and they really did great work with regards to the preface, and they worked throughout the various different Italian cities in order to get various different haskamot from great rabbinical authorities for this Torah colossal work. And I believe that was around the year 1749, 1750. That was just several years before he passed away. And he went to various different great Talmid Chachamim, especially in northern Italy. And this book, I believe, I think there was books, and there was a sonnet, and there was poems, and in honor of Lampronti, which was actually Rav Lampronti in of its made. And the great yeshivot, there were of great rabbis that actually, I think, gave haskamot and was connected to him, including Venice, Leon, Reggio, Verona, Ancona, Padua, Mantua, also Cassel, Monferrata, Modena, Turin, Florence, Alessandria della Padilla, Pesaro, Final, Lugo, Rovigo. These were very, very great places, and many great rabbis were in all these different vicinities and gave haskamot within regards to this. Now, I think there was in the second volume, there was a famous Rabbi Malachi ben Yaakov Kohn of Livorno, who happened to be a great rabbi, the author of the Yad Malachi, and various different other Israeli, let's say, scholars that came from Eretz Israel visited Peraira and gave haskamot, if I'm not mistaken. I believe the work was to fill, this great book of the Pachad Yitzchak was to fill 6 volumes, and I think it was actually done from the directorship of the rabbis, the Jewish rabbis in Venice. I think maybe there was a printing house there. I think only the first volume and a half, or during Rabbi Yitzchak's lifetime, was actually printed. I think the first volume was in 1750, which had great selections in of itself. I think in 1753, I think went through an alphabetical order, if I'm not mistaken. So in 1753, the letters are bet, and it would go on and so forth. I think various other volumes, latter volumes was printed in 1813, I think in Reggio, respectively, and 1840 in Leon, if I'm not mistaken. And it will go on and on. And I think the last volume actually contained additional text by Rav Abraham Baruch Perno, who was, I think it was under the title of the Zechor Abraham, if I'm not mistaken. I think even in the year 1845, there was an autograph manuscript of the entire work, was acquired by the Bibliothèque Nationale of Paris. I think in 120 volumes, 68 of which corresponded with the parts that had so far appeared at that point in time. And this special, let's say, Paris manuscript contained the author's Italian correspondence, which I think was not actually included in the previous edition, if I'm not mistaken. But there was various different works and let's just say additions put to this later on in different places, and there was different societies that reorganized it at later stages. I think the Mekitze Nir Damim in the years between 1885 and 1887, and I think this went through order of letters. I think the letter of Resh would be later on, and Shin, and then the Taf, if I'm not mistaken. and was completed 127 years after the printing of the first volume. And it was a great work. I think this great Torah work of the Pachad Yitzchak was alphabetically arranged encyclopedia, let's say, of the Gemara itself, the Shas Talmudic literature in itself. And I think the first volume, as we stated, was in the year 1749. And we see what a great book it was in itself. There was questions and correspondence in it, and was really, really a great encyclopedic work. One of the greatest within regards, for sure, of all time. And I think there was other great rabbis. I think Rabbi Ben Doto, Isaac Levi, or Leperaer. It made actually a short biography with regards to Rabbi Lampronti at a later stage of time, and very much spoke about it. It's actually interesting. His son, I think Rab Shmuel Hay, or Samuel Hay, as we say, is mentioned also, and he had a younger son, also Rab Shlomo Lampronti. He happened to be a physician like his father, and he was also very great in rabbinic knowledge in of itself. His son Rab Shlomo, or Solomon, you could say, Lampronti in of itself. Now, it was really great family, as you say. Remember, at that point in time, the rabbis of Italy were very great. Now, I think he had a lot of great rabbonim also in Italy during his life, including Rabbi Yaakov Almo, who I think was the author of the great work, the Reshit Bikurei Katsir, Rabbi Yitzchak Norzi, who was the author of the Itzhur Bikurei Katsir, Rabbi Pinchas Chai Anav, who was the author of the Tosefet Bikurei Katsir, Rabbi Yitzchak Michael Pinso, who was the author of the great Torah book, the Pri Yitzchak, Rav Shabtai Elchanan Mazkenim, who was another great rabbi, Rabbi Eliyahu Segal ben Raphael Shlomo Halevi, who was an Abed and head of the Jewish court, in of itself, respectively, and author of various from great books. I think the Saba Eliyahu, the Mesachet Avot, he did a book on, and different shirim in of itself. Now, as we stated before, he got married, Rabbi Yitzchak did, to his wife's name was Rabbanit Rachel. His wife's name was Rachel, and she happened to be the daughter of Rabbi Moshe Yisrael Gorzi. And they had, as I said, they had sons, including Rabbi Baruch Mordechai and Rav Vorofä Shlomo, we mentioned about, I believe, before, and various. I think it's actually he had many great, like, academic, let's say, descendants. I think Professor Roberto Bacchi happened to be, who was a statistician, who was a great man that dealt in statistics of Israel. I think he himself born in Italy, was a descendant, if I'm not mistaken, and other great descendants also in of itself. So it's his Hilula. I believe it's on Yud Bet Kislev. According to another place, said it was on Rosh Chodesh Kislev, but he was a great rabbi. And please don't forget to light candles in his memory. Rabbi Yitzchak Lampronti, wishing you all a great day. Take care and be well. Wishing you all